You are Locked On Astros Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Houston on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Well, all good things must come to an end, and for the Astros tonight, the 6-game winning streak did exactly that as the Brewers come into town, and after getting beat last night, look like a team that, well, first-place team in the NL Central like they've been most of this season. Welcome into the Locked On Astros Postcast here, live on YouTube. Thank you for joining us this Saturday evening. If you're listening to this later, whether it's via the YouTube page or the podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, you can search and find this show. Thank you. And of course, please hit subscribe on the YouTube page. I greatly appreciate it. Astros tonight, we're looking to make it 7 in a row. Keep this trend going of great baseball. It's not going to completely knock you down. We'll talk about that in just a bit. The Astros go to 20-26 on the season, but it stinks. It wasn't like it was a game that, you went out there and got dominated by any means. It was just a game where the other team did more than you could, and one inning basically decided this baseball game tonight. Simple as that for Justin Verlander. We're going to talk a lot about him coming up in a few minutes, but obviously that fifth inning, throwing 42 pitches in that fifth inning was, it was his death nail. And he had been cruising at that point. I don't have an issue with his decision-making when it comes to trying to, beat a guy up in the zone with 96, 97 miles an hour. Didn't work out. Left it too much over the plate, and Contreras smacked it out of the park. It's just a difference in Verlander of who he used to be and who he is now, and we saw that again tonight. By the way, tonight's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 with any winning $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. So, if we'd like to get started on the bad of tonight, outside of Justin Verlander, the bats don't do a lot. And the bat quality up and down the lineup tonight was not necessarily great. They had a couple of guys have nights. Jake Myers had a night, which there in the ninth inning, he got on base with a little blooper out there that falls in. Did not love his base running decision there in the ninth inning when you are down by 2 runs to, first of all, steal the bag that they're giving to you, but then to go ahead and go for third. That doesn't make any sense. You're in scoring position there, and you're not the tying run. You're the last out if you get thrown out at third base there, so you don't need to do that. But really, the story of the night is all the big boys. Not doing anything because all the Astros production basically came from the bottom of the order. Myers hit the home run. She's been red hot. We do have to give Jake Myers a lot of credit. Mauricio Dubon drove in another run. But you go look at the top of the order. We talked about this last night a little bit. Jose Altuve's not been good recently. It just is what it is. Now, you can't stay perfect for an entire season. I get that. We all get that. You're never going to be hitting 340, 350, all year long. You're going to have stretches where you stink and numbers will go down and they'll go back up. It's not like he's been god-awful. I think he still has like a 6-game hitting streak right now. But they do need more out of him in the upcoming days. His at-bat quality hasn't been wonderful. I can't say anything bad about Kyle Tucker because he leads the American League in baseball in a ton of categories. He did get on base twice tonight. Jordan had a big hit there late to try to give them an opportunity, but his results are still not there. And look, simply put, the Astros have to get more out of Jordan. We all know that. Bregman, after that good little stretch there, it's been a little bit rough last few games. Nothing out of Pena tonight. And those are your big boys, and I'm considering your big boys. Yainer Diaz down there. Can somebody wake up? Can somebody have the 2023 version of Yainer Diaz show up, please? That'd be great. The bugaboo for the Astros that has always been around a little bit. Runners in scoring position tonight, 1 for 6, and they left 7 men on base. So, again, there were opportunities in this game. They out-hit the Brewers in this baseball game tonight. And they didn't win. Their one big swing being the Brewers came with 2 men on and goes over the fence, and that's the difference in the baseball game tonight. And their starter came out there, pitched really well. Their bullpen behind did its job as well. One of those nights where I think you tip your cap to it. all is not lost, of course. By the way, for Verlander, that's his second loss now that he takes on the season. Since his return, he's 2-2 on the year. And, he pitched well enough to early on, it felt like, to where he was going to go super deep. I mean, his pitch count going into that fifth inning was low, and it just blew it out of the water there. He basically almost threw his entire pitch count in that one inning that he had going into that fifth inning. Again, we'll get to more of him in just a bit. But like I mentioned, the Brewers, they just went out there and they did their thing. Their bullpen, after Wilson, who wasn't awesome, but he was getting outs, was, he was good, got the outs, I should say, and then their bullpen did the job against the Astros bats that just kind of shriveled up. So far this homestand has been a massive success for this baseball team. They've gone 5-1 now on it. Tomorrow, a chance to win another series, and that's all that matters here. If they go ahead and get the series win tomorrow, you forget about tonight. You don't even worry about it. And tomorrow is going to be the interesting one. Tonight was the night where you were really hopeful that you'd get the win because Arrighetti goes tomorrow. Now, if the Arrighetti shows up that's kind of pitched the last few starts, Astros probably be in a pretty good place with a decent enough chance to go win the baseball game. Simple as that. But if he's the guy that's pitched in other spots that hasn't been very consistent and has struggled at times, then, they're going to be in a tough spot to win that series. But if they can stack a series sweep with a 2 out of 3 against a first-place team in the NL Central, that's a successful weekend. And then, again, you go into the week this week with a 3-gamer against the Los Angeles Angels, who aren't very good. And then I say that, but I think they've played pretty well last couple of games. I have not seen what they've done today against the Texas Rangers. They're actually playing at the moment. They're tied with the Rangers in the 9th inning, 2-2. So that one, Seattle, got to check in on them. They're up 4-3, bottom of the 9th with 2 outs, so they're an out away. So the Astros probably falling back a game in the West, go back to 5 games behind. That's okay. You don't want to dig the hole too much further. You need to bounce back out of it and keep digging your way towards the positives. I said it last night. I got all optimistic. I got all fat and happy and sassy, I guess, and said they're going to get back to 500 before the end of the month. And, tonight doesn't help my chances by any means. I needed the winning streak to continue for at least a few more games to make that a very realistic thing. That's okay. As long as they're within, 3 or 4 games of 500 by the end of this month, that is just fine. Carry that over into the month of May. We got a lot more to get into. Let's talk about Justin Verlander's tough night out there on the mound. Well, it wasn't tough most of the night. It was tough in one specific inning. We'll evaluate the start for the Astros ace in just a brief moment. But right now, I need to tell you about Supply House. Get supplies from the site that's made for skilled trades. SupplyHouse.com. SupplyHouse.com is the reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Get an expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business and talk to a real person every time. Pros in the skilled trades can get a competitive edge by joining SupplyHouse.com's free Trade Master program. Every Trade Master gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from the free membership at SupplyHouse.com/TM and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at SupplyHouse.com. Locked On Astros Postcast tonight following a 4-2 loss to the Milwaukee Brewers. Thank you for joining us on this Saturday evening. I know it's not the best way to spend your Saturday evening having to talk about a loss, but it happens in baseball, and it happened to the Astros tonight, and it happened to the Astros starter, which, by the way, first off, thank you again for joining us, as I mentioned, but as I always like to remind you, if you're new to the YouTube page, please hit subscribe. Please share it with friends. Tell them to hit subscribe on the YouTube page. And then to also find us on podcast anywhere that you get your podcast. Search for Locked On Astros, and you will find this podcast for free wherever it is, again, that you do get these podcasts. Justin Verlander tonight came out looking really good. Came out looking like the guy that was rolling through the Tigers on Sunday in Detroit. And then the fifth inning happened. And it was an odd fifth inning. I mean, I can't recall ever seeing him throw that many pitches in an inning. And I know that there's a lot of armchair managing that goes on in these moments. And, Twitter's Twitter and responses are responses. I look, here's the thing. When it comes to decision-making of maybe you should have gotten Verlander out of there or walk Contreras there and load the bases back up, whatever. Deep into the count, I think I had somebody tweet me that earlier, like after 12 pitches of Contreras, just walk and put them on. I mean, you're that far in. They're not doing that at that point. It is what it is. I didn't hate the pitch selection to Contreras of trying to beat. I know he's great against fastballs, but look, you can have a guy that's great against fastballs. Fastballs up in the zone at 96, close to 97 for any hitter is tough to hit. It just is. And Verlander was empty in the tank there, and I didn't have a problem with it. It's just a weird start. And his start to the season, there's been a lot of encouraging signs to it. I think that he's pitched a lot better than maybe the raw numbers tell you. 3.97 is the ERA now because he gives it the 4 runs tonight. But he's had a couple starts where he hadn't been able to get through the fifth. And I think this is, again, he can still be a staff ace and pitch really effectively. But every single start for Justin Verlander is just going to be different than it's been in the past. Like you've always known with Verlander, since he's been an Astro basically, was that he was going to go out, not allow many hits, walk nobody, and strike out a bunch of guys. That was his outing every time. He's going to do it with a fastball that was going to get by guys. He was going to do it with a wipeout slider, and then he was going to do it with a hook occasionally. And now he's a guy that the fastball is not as big consistently. Now, in part because he's saving it. He's leaving himself enough gas in the tank because he's 41 years old now. And you're going to slow down out there on the mound, and you're going to get exhausted a little bit quicker than you typically do. But his arsenal has changed on top of this. I mean, we've seen him like last weekend in Detroit, and I think that's what we get back to is on a game-to-game basis, the arsenal changes. The game against the Chicago Cubs, like he was a fastball guy that day until he was not able to stay in the game anymore because of pitch count. Excuse me. The game against Detroit this past weekend, fastball was good, but the breaking ball was the pitch in that one. Today, his most effective pitch was really that changeup. And that's something that's become a very big, I've said it a lot, the in vogue pitch for the Astros pitching staff this year has become the changeup, which I love. Throw it the same as a fastball. Arm action looks the same to a hitter, and then it dives off, and he's got a good changeup. He's clearly been working on it. But today, for whatever reason, he just got into that fifth inning and couldn't miss bats. And to an extent, that's who Justin Verlander is now. He's not the 2017 Verlander. He's not the 2018 Verlander. He's not the 2019 Verlander. That Verlander in those years was a power pitcher. He's still got a power pitcher's mentality. He's still got power pitcher stuff, but he doesn't get power pitcher swing and miss. And I think in large part, he doesn't get the same swing and miss as he used to is because his slider has fallen off. That became such a weapon for him when he came over to the Astros. Now, you could go back and look and say, hey, look at the spin rates on them, whatever. Sticky stuff was a thing. They were using sticky stuff. It's okay. It's absolutely okay. Everybody's been doing it. But I just think that he's lost that pitch over the last couple of years since he's come back from Tommy John. It doesn't move a lot. It's just got a tight spin on it, and it moves a little bit, which can still deceive hitters, and he still gets some stuff. But I just don't think he has that. He doesn't have the consistency of the secondary pitch to induce the swing and miss to where his fastball becomes better than it typically is. Right now, like Contreras in that moment knew that Verlander was only going back for one thing, and it was the fastball there, and it was over and over and over. And maybe the ego gets in the way a little bit in those moments. You're the alpha. You want to be out there. You're 41. You still want to prove everybody that, hey, I can reach back. I can get 96, 97. I can make this pitch. I can get this guy out right here in this moment. It's why I'm the ace of the staff. could come into play. But it was still a good pitch, like the ability, I should say, to reach back and get it. So at some point, they will swing and miss at it. But if, like, I'm not going to lie, with the way he threw that changeup tonight, I feel like you got to keep utilizing that changeup a little bit. Why wouldn't you? I don't know why you wouldn't. It's an out pitch. He's clearly worked on it. I think if you're going to rank Verlander's pitches at this moment that he has the ability to use at any point in any given, at bat, it's still always going to be fastball 1, because when his fastball is right, it's always been talked about. It to a hitter, it looks like it goes up, which it's not doing. It's not physically possible for a fastball to go up, but it looks like it rises because of the way he releases it and spins it. And he really kind of, if you go look at it when he has the force, and he really holds the fingers tight, and just gets good release on it with his mechanics. And, I think after the fastball right now, you'd probably still put the hook too. The hook has been good this year. And you follow that up with the changeup at this moment. And then I'm putting the slider as his 4th best pitch. And he needs to change that. That needs to get back to being, a weapon for him. I will say, though, again, the changeup tonight, and he started to throw it against right-handed hitters, which righties typically don't do a lot of throwing changeups to right-handed hitters. That's nice. If he can use that and get guys out, he can become lethal again, to where he's getting big strikeout numbers and not allowing guys on base. I don't care how his outs come. I know you guys don't either. I think he's just at a stage of his career now where it's towards the end, and he's going to be a guy that gets outs more often with contact than with swing and miss. It's okay. It's completely fine. I mean, even in his last Cy Young year, where he had a 1.75 ERA or whatever, he was not the strikeout artist that he had been before that necessarily. He still had more strikeouts than innings pitched. I think it was like 185 and 175 innings or whatever. But it's, it's not like it's used to be. And I'm sorry if you can hear this. My dogs are barking in the middle of the show. Don't you just love animals sometimes? I love them, but they just decide to bark when you're in the middle of doing something. If you could stop now, Bear, please. That'd be nice. Go back to sleep. Thank you. Where was I? Thank you, Bear, for distracting me for a moment. But Verlander and his pitches. I think overall, I'm encouraged by the start that he's had to his season. And I think that there's a lot of things to go off of, to feel better about. So we'll see exactly what happens with him moving forward. They need him to pitch at the top of the rotation. We've talked about that a lot. Of course, we all know that with this baseball team having Fromber as well. And Jose Urquidy, he was pitching tonight with the Corpus Christi Hooks. He'd given up a couple of runs last time I checked. But between that, Christian Javier, when Ronel Blanco comes back here after the suspension, who knows what happens with Hunter Brown, probably bullpen, whatever. But they need Verlander and Fromber to kind of carry this staff. Simple as that. He's got to find a way to not have the innings like he did tonight. And again, you still have to credit the other team. Like the Brewers fouled off pitches left and right. I think those last 2 hitters. I mean, I have to go back and look at what the exact count. I mean, Contreras is like a 13-pitch at bat. I think the guy before, or maybe somebody before that, was like 8 or 9 pitches. It's a ton of pitches for 2 hitters. Now, those good points brought up, in the broadcast tonight too by Jeff Blum, is that we don't think about this when you get into these innings where you're having to throw this many pitches and the pitch clock now. It's a lot more exhausting for these guys, and I just think that he kind of ran out of it, and eventually Contreras won the battle. Happens. That is baseball. Let's go ahead and start to give our final thoughts on this night tonight. The Astros losing to the Brewers 4-2. Why you should still feel okay, even though it's a bad night at the ballpark tonight. There's no reason to be down by any means. We'll talk about that to start winding things up in just a moment on the Locked On Astros Postcast. But first, I've already told you that tonight's show is brought to you by FanDuel. And guess what? FanDuel has your odds on all sorts of games, It's winner take all in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel's is giving you your shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Locked On Astros Postcast for a few more minutes here live on YouTube. Thank you again for joining us tonight. If you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button. We would greatly appreciate it. Tell anybody that you know that you want them to do it as well. And, well, I should say do it. That means subscribe to the channel, because I would like to think that, hey, you enjoy this channel. You enjoy coming here and listening to this guy stare into a camera or look at his computers and make sure he's reading stats or whatever, or texting back his wife as she texts him in the middle of the show. And you say, I like this guy. I like what he's got. He might be dumb sometimes, but he's pretty good. I appreciate you joining us. Also, you find this show anywhere that you get your podcast. Go ahead and search for them anywhere that you get them. They are free. Again, right there, search Locked On Astros, and you will find those right there every single time, along with the Locked On Astros podcast. And Eric and Brett do a great job as well. So go ahead and check out that show Monday to Friday. They do a great job covering your Astros, just like I hope you think this show does. Overall, you shouldn't feel terrible about what this club is right now. There's no reason to. Not terrible from the standpoint of, not from the standpoint of, like overall, they still shouldn't be here. They shouldn't have had this record. They shouldn't have put themselves in this situation. They should have played better baseball early on. It's just like it was the snowball effect, and everything just went poorly quickly. And it looked bad a week ago. Or just over a week ago, whenever it was that they were in New York. And it looked like, oh, boy, this thing is really starting to get back out of control. Like, how are they ever going to fix this? There's no way out of this. And a quick winning streak will help. The thing you have to do now with that quick winning streak is bottle it up and do it again. Like tomorrow night, you got to go back out there and win another game. And maybe go win 3 games against the Angels as well. Start a new streak. And then you're looking at a stretch where if you can go back and look at it and you say, hey, you won 13 of 15 or 14 of 17 or 15 of 19, whatever it might be. That's where you fix your season. I know that, every single night there's things that you could go and look at and be mad about and whatever, and that's completely fine. There's things tonight that irritate you as well. That bat quality irritates me consistently. And really, my guy right now, I guess everybody's always got one guy that they're looking at, right? That's, struggling at the plate or whatever. I am just so very disappointed with Yainer Diaz so far this season. There's just been nothing at the plate that has been really good. He's not hitting the ball hard. He's not hitting the ball. He's kind of like Jeremy Pena did last year. He's hitting the ball on the ground constantly. I knew he was going to swing outside the zone a lot. At times, he's okay at not doing that. But he's just, I expected him to be a thumper in this lineup. The guy hit like 23 home runs last year, and there's been nothing. Now, look, it's still better than Maldonado at the plate. Don't get it twisted one bit. You could still have a guy who's barely hitting about half of what his weight is. I'm being serious, unfortunately, with that. So, I'll still take this over that. But that's a guy you counted on. That's a guy that you need to get going a little bit. He and Jordan, please. But still, they're at a spot right now where I don't think you feel bad. I think your vibe check at the moment would still be good, even if tonight they're going to drop back a game in the American League West. Chance to go ahead and pick it back up right after at this again tomorrow, which again, Sunday, Spencer Arrighetti will get the ball for the Astros up against Colin Ray. For the Brewers, it's a 1:10 first pitch, so like we do every single game, after this ball game gets done tomorrow, you'll join us right here on the Locked On Sports Houston page to check in with the Locked On Astros Postcast. Appreciate you guys joining us tonight. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday evening. I hope it's better than the game was, and we'll talk tomorrow afternoon after an Astros win on the Locked On Astros Postcast.